Short answer, no. For all the people that wanted to know my answer to that, you can click off the video now. But now if you want to see the full explanation I have for this thing, then please continue watching. I would really appreciate it. So the Nintendo 64 controller. This is one of the weirdest looking controllers out there. Like, it's not, you know, it has 3 prongs to it. Like, why is the joystick here? Why is the D-pad all the way over here? Why are all the C stick is used as C buttons instead? Why are there 3 shoulder buttons? Why is there a memory card slot? Like, why? But I'm here to defend this thing because weirdly this thing is like incredible. Like, for one, you already got all these like fancy colors for it, and you know what, because I want to be more fancy, no more of this, we're gonna be using this. But the Nintendo 64 controller is, yeah, obviously the weirdest looking controller out there, but ever since I got the actual Nintendo 64 into my game collection, I hold a little soft spot to this thing. Like, originally, before I even owned a Nintendo 64, and I originally used this once randomly at like a flea market to test out what the what Smash 64 was on original hardware. But back then I was like, this thing sucks, and then I always said it sucks because look at the 3 prongs, it has C buttons, it has 3 shoulder buttons. But now that I'm actually using this thing fairly often in my game collection to like play Mario 64, Smash Brothers 64 again, and my other 2 random games every once in a while, Star Wars game, and then some wrestling game. But otherwise, I don't know, something about this thing is like really good. I don't know how to explain it. Like, even though that it's weird because some games don't let you easily reach all the buttons on the controller. Like, the intended way to use this thing is, if you're playing 3D games on the Nintendo 64, you hold it like this. You have the joystick and all that, and here's that. But even for 2D games, it uses the joystick for some reason, like Smash Brothers. And then, weirdly, you have to, like, reach over to this button to, like, taunt, and I think this, of the D-pad, weirdly does jumps. Or maybe it's the C button, I don't really remember right now. But, yeah, this is the intended way you're supposed to hold it for 3D games, and this is how you're supposed to hold the 64 controller for 2D games. And for, like, special control sets like GoldenEye 007, you can set it to something like this, by using 2 controllers at once. And I don't know if this is an actual, like, setup, but you could technically hold it like this. I'm not sure if any games ever used that kind of control set. Like, I think that's just dumb if they did. But clearly, as most, like, retro gamers say with the Nintendo 64 controller, this controller was made with, of course, Super Mario 64 in mind. And honestly, yeah, it really is. Like, even though that it doesn't use this part of the controller because it's a 3D game and it expects you to use all these buttons and the Z button right there, but it's kind of, it feels really fucking good, bro. The way that Mario controls is incredible. You don't have to use a run button, unlike Mario 64 DS, which, although that I defend Mario 64 DS a lot, as it was one of my first ever video games, I will admit that the Nintendo 64 version of Mario 64, of course, controls better. Like, I'm not that dumb. But the way that Mario moves with this joystick is incredible. The joystick does kind of suck a little bit. Most people complain about it a lot. But I think that really comes down to, like, the only time this joystick sucks is when you're playing Mario Party, then you do stuff like this. Because of the certain mini games that let you do that, you have to do that to have the most optimal way to reel in fish or coins or whatever that one mini game was. And yeah, that felt horrible. Just doing that, that's, oh, that feels so weird. It's something to do with this texture of the thing. I feel like if it was a lot more smooth, it would feel at least a little bit better if you did that, but that's... Oh, okay, I see why people hate this thing now. But no, I'm still here to defend it. That was just... I don't own Mario Party on the original Nintendo 64 yet, so maybe my opinions will change on this controller once that happens, but for now, I'm here to still defend this thing. So, the joystick honestly is not that bad. Like, it's not good. Like, look at this. This is horrible. Like, what is this? And of course, it does hurt your hands when you're playing Mario Party. But for intended normal joystick use, it feels pretty okay for Nintendo's first shot at a joystick. Of course, they did loads better with later consoles. Like GameCube's was at least bigger. Like, it still felt like this joystick texture-wise, but it was at least bigger. The nunchuck was the same thing for the Wii, and then the classic controllers and stuff like that. But by like the Wii U Pro controller and the Switch Pro controller, I think they've pretty much got it down on how to make a normal, non-hurting joystick. But for a first outing, I think this is a pretty decent joystick. And the D-pad is honestly really, really good, in my personal opinion. Like, it's nice and... it's kind of like squishy, but in a good way. I can't really describe it other than, like, it's a really good D-pad. I wish that the console would have more... would have had more 2D games that used this, but, you know, the majority of the 64 library is just 3D titles, which I find really odd. It's kind of odd, but this is about the controller. This is about the controller. Stop it, Karen. And the shoulder buttons are pretty decent too. I kind of prefer the Z button right here. It's something so satisfying about hitting that small little button that just feels really nice, especially with this prong that's really thick in this one area. Like, look at how thick these prongs are. And as well, just a big fat start button is really satisfying to press. I don't know, I'm just like explaining everything about the 64 controller at this point. I have nothing to talk about this thing. This was a goofy video idea. And the B and A buttons feel pretty okay. Actually, not okay. They feel great. These are like, honestly, one of the best like face buttons in my personal opinion. The C buttons, like, are fine as well. They feel very much like the B and A buttons over here, while the start button is a little bit different. But they're just a little bit smaller, and I personally think that they're not really that optimal for camera controls. So I never really changed my camera angles much in 3D games on the 64 because I don't really enjoy using these C buttons. I'd prefer an actual joystick, but if they used the joystick here, I think it would the entire controller would have to be like redone. I'm kind of like, this thing's pretty cool. And as well, we got to talk about this thing, like this little slot right here. I bought both of these controllers used with my Nintendo 64 when I first got them at the my local pawn shop. This thing is tough to get out. Like, why is this one so hard? Is there a lock on this? You know what? I give up. Anyways, let's talk about this port. So yeah, I got this 64 used at my local pawn shop. I got Mario 64, Smash Brothers 64. These two controllers right here that happen to come with a memory card slot, which this is used to like save ghost data in Mario Kart. And I think of more of a obscure thing. There's a button right there. I'm a dumbass. It's able to be used. I think I remember watching a video about like, this is how they re-release Ice Climber for the Japanese version of Animal Crossing, was through a very rare slot for this, so that was kind of funny. And as well, this is used for the transfer pack, which is used for Pokemon Stadium to bring over your Pokemon from the Game Boy titles over to the 64, and as well, like, some extra bonus content for Mario Tennis and Mario Golf. And as well, the Rumble pack was used here, so that's cool. And the Rumble pack was, I'm pretty sure, the first time that Rumble was fully, like, utilized for a console controller. And it was used in many titles, like, a lot of support in that, even for games that didn't include the Rumble pack. I think it was, like, included with Star Fox 64. And, yeah, it was just used in a lot of titles after that. It's really interesting. I think it's kind of cool that Nintendo kind of started the revolution of Rumble in the first case. I'm surprised they never made... I could be wrong on this, but I'm surprised that they've never made any 64 controllers later on that came with Rumble built in. Because it would still be fairly easy to do. Like, these are wired controllers, so all the power is going straight from the Nintendo 64 itself. So it wouldn't have been that hard to get, like, the Rumble pack built in. Let's see if I can actually unplug this thing now. I'm still distracted about that. Okay, yeah. I forgot about this button right here. So there you go. There is an actual button right here. And yes, this is a third-party memory card. Same as that. That isn't a official Nintendo one. But, yeah, this button is pretty satisfying to take out memory cards. It's... Okay, now it's not working. I don't get this thing. But yeah, the 64 controller, I think is kind of underrated. Like, trust me when I say this, even though that, yes, it looks really scary, but trust me, you're only ever going to be using it like this, or like this, depending on the kind of game that you're playing. And it's really surprisingly comfortable, like, even for my somewhat big hands. Like, I don't have the biggest hands in the world, but they're big enough. But this controller feels really nice, and I honestly don't think it deserves as much hate as it gets. Or who knows, maybe people, like, absolutely love this thing now, and I'm making this video for no reason. And honestly, that sounds about right for me. I've never been relevant with any of my videos. So, bye!